I've been thinking about restoration and redemption. I've been praying about it. I've been asking God about it and looking into it. It's an interesting subject, the idea of redemption and restoration. We know that God is a God of justice. Um, we also know that justice is not always something we take into our own hands in certain ways. Um, Jesus set a huge example, not just in talking about turning the other cheek, um, but in the very way that he dealt with certain things. Like, I mean, the process leading up to the crucifixion, right? He certainly did not become aggressive with people who he knew were doing things to hurt him. He also had, of course, a mission, and he was fulfilling a just cause in his death. But through what he did, he redeemed us. Now, I say this, he also, God, can redeem justice in his own hands. Jesus made a whip and, kind of went gung ho on people who were selling in the temple in the house of his father, right? So, but that was God showing us him enacting justice. He wants us to love our enemies. He wants us to love our neighbor as our own flesh, but he enacts justice on our behalf. He redeemed us in death. Redemption is a huge theme of the New Testament. So redemption super big, and the Bible makes a lot of references to restoration as well. It got me thinking and wondering about that, and I think as I'm learning, um, hopefully I gain even better understanding of restoration, what it really means for us. I think paramount is spiritual restoration, and it's an opportunity we have, like when we go into prayer, to get that spiritual restoration in those moments of sin, of separate. Yeah, sin is the ultimate thing that separates us from God, that helps us, or that, sorry, help us anyway, that sort of displaces us, and I don't know, I feel like it's important to get that restoration. Something I find myself uh, wondering is, like, when we're praying for that restoration, when we're repentant, we're pouring our hearts out to God. So I I find myself wondering, like, how can I really gain that restoration with God? And I feel like repentance is key. It's so important to not just ask for forgiveness, but to be purposeful, to purpose ourselves through God, through the Holy Spirit, um, to put our best effort to um, put our minds in that place, uh, to look to God and just pray for, those desires, those sinful desires that we um, inherently find the enemy putting in our scope, um, to just cleanse us, I guess, and just really get that spiritual restoration. Now, I think when we think about restoration, I know me personally, when I think, what does the Bible talk about with restoration? Um, one of, not the only, but one of the first things that like comes to mind with restoration is the restoration of Job. Job, really cool book, right? It reads like a play. Like, it reads like this amazing film, this protagonist that goes through like crazy trials and all these horrible things, and then has a redemption and restoration at the end. So faithful, doesn't even truly know what's going on. He wasn't there for that conversation with the enemy. He just knows that everything that can go wrong is just going wrong, and he remains faithful. Awesome, great example. It's pretty obvious why that book made it in the Bible. Um, he he just shows some great character and clearly goes through a lot. But at the very end, he has some things to do, and he prays for those bad counselors that God told to go to him, and he is blessed and gets a physical restoration. God finds joy in blessing us and in restoration. Um, I really want to talk at some point, maybe it'll be the next video I put out, uh, about having an eternity mindset, about looking through things with an eternity pair of eyes, which I think is a really cool concept, and one that I really took to heart really recently and am still exploring and learning about, and it excites me. Um, because it's really, I don't know, it's a beautiful concept. I feel like, and I'll talk about it more when I focus on an eternity mindset. I feel like only recently, like in the last, I don't know, it was a few weeks ago, um, my wife and I had we saw some great teaching that mentioned it, and we really prayed into it and got a lot of good out of it. And so I really want to talk about that soon. But having that eternity mindset, we can see like a beautiful ultimate promise of redemption and restoration. He he has some beautiful promises for us, and God doesn't lie. He his promises are just a thing of beauty to take pleasure in that we see coming in our future, and that's beautiful. But I started kind of looking into some other examples in the Bible of restoration. What I found when I looked into it was David. That was or one of the things that came up when I was looking into some examples of restoration, and I hadn't really thought about David as a great example of restoration, but not that I thought the opposite, just hadn't occurred to me really um, until I was doing a little research before talking about restoration. And the story of David, he was a great mighty king, and he was God just really saw so much in him, and he wasn't perfect, of course. In fact, he made some really big mistakes. And one of those mistakes is the story of his adulterous relationship with Bathsheba, what happened with Bathsheba. But the key to that was that he had deep remorse, that he prayed to God, that um, he saw the error of his ways, which was a really good example for us, of course. And in that, he repented. He wanted in his heart to do the right thing, to take the right steps, because I mean, he knew he sinned gravely, and he was repentant for that. Um, so he uh, he approached that with a mindset of just he poured out his heart, and that's another great kind of theme with David, is that he had a he's really open. He definitely poured out his heart. I want to read from Psalms. Um, it's Psalm 51 verse 12. Um, and this is from the Passion Translation. He said, "Let my passion for life be restored, tasting joy in every breakthrough you bring to me. Hold me close to you with a willing spirit that obeys whatever you say. Let my passion for life be restored," is the opening. He was he was praying for restoration. In chapter 51, prior to that, context important, especially in the Bible, right? And we don't want to take things out of context. It is a verse about pardon and purity. That's the theme, and he's pouring out his heart um, in this whole kind of section of Psalms. He's pouring out his heart for his he talks about the shameful guilt of sin in his conscience, and he prays for a cleansing. He is being repentant. He has a repentant heart, and he's praying for restoration. So, does God give him restoration? That's the question. He truly is repentant, and God restores him in a massive way. God lays out a foundation for him. David is a king among kings and a father to kings. He has there's a line amongst Israel, and there were some bad kings after him, but the great kings were mentioned as his father, or as him being their father. He was their spiritual father. He and his own son Solomon, um, David was able to lay the foundation for Solomon to complete this temple, um, a temple that Solomon built that David is also given credit for laying out um, that foundation for. And the big one, the David is the prophesied line for Christ, for God, for Jesus to be born through, a son of David. That's pretty big. That's pretty big restoration. That's pretty powerful stuff. David messed up. He repented. He had a pure heart and God saw it. And he God gave him restoration. So restoration, it's something that we have at our fingertips. It can show up in a lot of ways. We have an opportunity to go to God in prayer, like David did, and seek our restoration, whether it be restoration of physical promises, spiritual um, promises, and hope. We it can be as simple as an attack on us, on our faith that we need restoration for, and that's at our fingertips. It can be um, something that was in our family line, that was promised in our family line, that can be restored to us. Uh, Restoration, um, it's a huge place of love for God, and it's a theme throughout the Old Testament and New. God restored the Israelites. He gave them this promised land. God restored Job. God restored David. God did a lot of restoration. God restored our opportunity that was lost with the beginning in the garden through Christ. God has restored historically so much, and he delights in it. He delights in redemption. He delights in justice. He delights in restoration, and it's his to give. And that's so exciting. And I think the more that I learn about it, the more excited I get about what he has for us, the promises he gives us, and the hope that he provides for us. And it restores my faith continually. I hope that blesses your day. I hope you have an amazing journey in redemption and restoration. Like and subscribe, please. It gives me an opportunity to grow and share what I'm learning and what I'm trying to um, hear from God and share that with others. Have an amazing journey in redemption and restoration.